Evening, the meeting of the Brockton City Council for August 23rd, 2021 will come to order. Would you please rise and salute the flag? Gentlemen, remove your caps, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would everyone remain standing just for a minute? I'd like to offer a moment of silence for Robert Casey. Bob Casey was a longtime principal at the Downey School. I know he was very friendly with Councilor Iannieri and me. He recently passed away. So if we could just have a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Please be seated. Clerk, first item.
Acceptance of the minutes of the July 26, 2021 City Council meeting.
Accepted and placed on file.
Item number 2.
Mr. President.
Councilor Thompson.
Mr. President, I make a motion to take items number 2, 3, and 4 under a suspension of the rules.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made and properly seconded to take items 2, 3, and 4 under suspension of the rules. All in favor? All opposed? It is a vote.
Thank you. Mr. President, additionally, I make a motion to take items number 2, 3, and 4 collectively.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion made to take them collectively as well. All those in favor? All those opposed? It is a vote. Mr. Clerk.
Item number 2, promotion of Fire Captain Joseph R. DePasquale to the rank of Deputy Fire Chief in the Brockton Fire Department. Promotion of Fire Lieutenant Stephen A. Montero to the rank of Fire Captain in the Brockton Fire Department. Number 4, promotion of firefighter Daniel J. Santry to the rank of Fire Lieutenant in the Brockton Fire Department.
Councilors, the question comes on confirmation of these promotions. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak? Yes. Cardozo?
Yes.
Iannieri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
That's 10 in the affirmative.
A motion for reconsideration in the hope it does not prevail.
Mr. President?
So moved.
Oh. All right, yeah, so moved.
All right, motion made and seconded for reconsideration in the hope that it does not prevail. All those in favor, all those opposed. Reconsideration fails. Gentlemen, could you stand, and congratulations. For the people who watch this at home, taking a civil service promotional exam is an arduous task. There are a lot of materials to study. There is time management skills that are required. It takes weeks, and the test is very difficult. When you reach this point in your career where you have qualified for a promotion, you have truly distinguished yourselves. And I offer all of these gentlemen our very best wishes for a very safe, healthy, and long career in their positions.
Hear, hear.
We'll be in a brief recess.
I make a motion to take item number 82 out of order so that it's heard now.
Second.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made and properly seconded to take 82 out of order. All those in favor? All those opposed? It is a vote. What are we doing?
Okay, and Mr. President, may I make a motion to suspend the rules and hear it this evening?
Second.
Been a motion made to suspend the rules and act on this evening.
On the motion,
On the motion.
I would have liked some time to prepare because this is so important. Can we
I'm sorry, I missed, we still
It's
have
'cause of
volume
this.
issues here.
I would have loved some time to prepare questions, because this is a really important issue. I don't know if we want to hold off. Till FinCom.
The commissioners are here this evening, and they've asked to be heard this evening.
I can't hear, I'm sorry.
You can't hear me?
Could you repeat that again, please?
I apologize. The county commissioners are here this evening, and they've asked to be heard this evening on this resolve. The resolve calls them to appear in front of us to deliver an update of the CARES Act, including they're going to give us a reimbursement check this evening, and they're also going to present us with a check on the burn grant.
All right. I just would have loved some more time to prepare questions for them, but okay. If it's the will of the council.
So there's a motion made and seconded to act on this evening. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Thank you.
It is a vote. Councilors, I would like to recognize some special guests this evening. We have Senator Michael Brady. We have Register of Deeds John Buckley. We have former clerk Anthony Zioli. We have Tom O'Brien, the county treasurer, and we also have Chair Greg Hanley, Sandra Wright, and Jared Valenzola, Plymouth County Commissioners. So we welcome all of you. And whoever would like to start, please step
I'm going to
forward.
read it. Let me read the resolve.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Read the resolve, please.
Resolved to have representatives of Plymouth County government appear before a committee of the Brockton City Council and deliver an update on the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, also known as the CARES Act, including a reimbursement check. Be it further resolved to have these representatives present a check from the Department of Justice burn grant to the City of Brockton. Be it also further resolved that the Brockton City Council receives an update on the American Rescue Plan Act, also known as ARPA.
Thank you, Mr. President. For those that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, I'm Plymouth County Treasurer Tom O'Brien. We appreciate the council hearing us today out of order. Thank you, Councilor Nicastro, for the motion. And for those that were able to attend the commissioners' meeting ahead of time. I'd like to go a little out of the order you just mentioned, Mr. President, start with the burn grant. I wanted to just report to the President and to the Council that we're here to present a check for $42,511.31, which is part of the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant that you folks apply for through the county. We're the mechanism for that for you folks. I'd like to commend Police Chief Manny Gomes and his team for their hard work on this application. Not surprisingly, as part of the federal government, these grants take a while to process. This is the 2017 grant that now we're presenting to you folks after a lot of work on part of the city and on the part of the county. I'd also like to commend the county commissioners for their support of this program. Chair Hanley is unable to attend, but Commissioner Wright and Commissioner Valenzola are here, and our county administrator, Frank Basler, who is also here for his hard work on this. It doesn't happen without that team effort, and we're here to deliver that check to you, Mr. President. If I might just bring it right up to you, if that's acceptable.
We're always glad to take checks for the city. Thank you very much.
I thought that might be the case. Now really to a little bit more good news for the city on behalf of the county. We're here to present another CARES check. This will be the 12th check that the Plymouth County CARES program is presenting to the city, but I want to harken back to a little over a year and a half ago when we were faced with a major pandemic. We didn't know what was going to happen as a result of that, and we all knew that the city of Brockton needed some assistance, needed some support, and we were terribly impressed that Mayor Sullivan stepped to the fore right away and said that he wanted to make sure that any program the county ran recognized the needs in the city of Brockton. And so as a result of that advocacy and the advocacy of the council, and I'd like to particularly recognize Councilor Nicastro, who is our advisory board member, we've been able to allocate a significant amount of money, and you'll hear that presentation from one of our commissioners in a bit, to the city of Brockton. The program has been a huge success for our 27 communities, but most notably for the city of Brockton. And it wouldn't happen without our partners at the federal level and at the state level. As you know, this was a piece of legislation that was passed in March of 2020. It was extended through the end of this year. And I'd like to thank, of course, Senator Markey and Senator Warren for their effort, but particularly thank Congressman Lynch. He and I have been conversing about tonight. He was hoping he could be here, but he's in Washington, D.C. I can tell you we have done hundreds of these presentations to our communities. Congressman Lynch has been at many of them. He's sorry he can't be here, but this wouldn't happen without his support, without his advocacy. He is a staunch proponent of this program, and his support of Plymouth County and the Plymouth County Cares program is unparalleled, and we really appreciate that. But our state partners are equally as vital. And you folks know how fortunate you are to have your legislative delegation here. I know many of them were unable to attend, but Senator Brady was able to be here, and he too has been at every presentation we've made in his district. He has been a staunch advocate for this program as well. And with your forbearance, I'd like him to just come and say a few words about the program and about the check that we're presenting. Senator Brady.
Thank you, Treasurer O'Brien, and I do want to thank the Treasurer and the County Commissioners. There was a lot of questions when the County of Plymouth County applied for this funding, and I will have to say that they got the money directly to our City of Brockton, other towns in the district, a lot faster than it would have been if the governor controlled this funding, because there was no guarantee Brockton would be allocated the amount of money that they have been allocated. And as we all know, the City of Brockton suffered the second highest cases of COVID next to the City of Boston, with all the elderly population we have, some of the senior centers, some of the nursing facilities, et cetera. And we're still not out of the woods yet, as we see the numbers going up and down. And this money has been so crucial. And I want to thank, because the Attorney General's office in the state and the Inspector General has been keeping an eye on making sure that the county has done everything by the book, and they've done above and beyond the call of duty, getting this money allocated to the local cities and towns, especially the communities that I represent. And I'm honored to be a part of this. And they are applying for some other funding too from the federal government. So hopefully we're going to get more money for our communities that we represent. But thank you, Mr. President. I'm just grateful to be here, and thank you to the council.
Thank you, Senator Brady.
Thank you, Senator Brady, and for your support of this program. We really do appreciate it. It has been unwavering. And it's important that you note that this program is unique in the sense that it takes a lot of effort to apply and receive these monies. And I just have to commend Mayor Sullivan and his team, Finance Director Clarkson and his staff. They have been persistent, they have been diligent, they have been thorough, they have been thoughtful in applying for these resources. That's why we're here today to present another check. That's why once we present this check tonight, the City of Brockton will have received more than $13.6 million in funding through the Plymouth County Cares program. And you'll hear in a moment what that number means and how significant that really is. The monies we're presenting tonight covered a number of things. Just two highlights for you. The efforts at the Shaw Center for a vaccination center. I would say Mayor Sullivan and the council were leaders. You guys went out and had this vaccine center and applied for reimbursement. You're getting the money back. Also, you hired a pandemic advisor, a brilliant idea out of the mayor's office, and now you're getting the money back. So these efforts reaped immediate rewards in fighting the pandemic, and now you're getting the return on that investment by getting that cash back into your coffers. One of the things I'd like to do is to bring up Commissioner Valenzola to talk a little bit about the program and its success. We had a handout for you. I hope you've all received it. I know County Administrator Basler handed it out, and he'd like to just say a few words if that's okay, Mr. President. Seeing no objection, then Commissioner Valenzola.
Thank you. Thank you, Treasurer O'Brien, Mr. President, and the honorable members of the City Council. First, I'm the new guy. I was sworn in January, so I do just want to say how honored I am to work with the City of Brockton, the City of Champions, and to be here before you this evening. I will be brief. There is a handout that I put together. One of the challenges that, as Senator Brady alluded to, the Plymouth County had was certainly folks that were a bit hesitant about the county administering these funds. One of the things I had started noticing when the state released their numbers for communities outside of Plymouth County was I started realizing that based on population, which was the metric they had used, that communities in Plymouth County had appeared to look better. When I dug even deeper into it, I didn't realize just how much better communities in Plymouth County did. So as you can see by the sheet that I passed out to you, Brockton's cap was 54% greater than the city of New Bedford. Brockton's cap is, of course, $18,008,171.92. Compare that to New Bedford's cap of $8.4 million. Even more striking, Brockton has now received 75% of that money, or about $13 million. The city of New Bedford has only received 31.45% of less money. As it relates to the administration of this program, Plymouth County has done this at about 1%. The national average has been about 5 to 7%. I think the Commonwealth has done it for 3%. So Plymouth County has delivered more money cheaper and faster than the Commonwealth. I did look up. Now, Springfield and Worcester have received 100% of their money, but it's important to note Springfield's cap, the third largest city in the Commonwealth, as you know, $13.6 million. The city of Brockton has already received just about that, with about $5 million to go. Worcester's cap, $16.388 million. So Plymouth County, again, has delivered more money to the city of Brockton and our member communities. You can look on the back of the sheet to see some of the others. And again, I just want to echo Treasurer O'Brien's sentiments. Our partnerships with our federal and local delegations, Senator Brady, the representatives from the great city of Brockton as well, and of course the mayor's office, Mr. Clarkson. And again, it is my pleasure to be before you this evening as your commissioner and to continue to work with you folks for the best interest of the city of Brockton. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Valenzola. So without further ado, we have a check here for $874,539.07, along with the complete packet that was filled out by the capable financial team that you folks have here in City Hall. And I'd like to bring that up to the president and present him with the actual check. This is it, so it can be turned over and deposited immediately and go right into the city coffers.
Any chance you could come back for our next meeting?
Rest assured, there's still more in the works. As I mentioned, Mayor Sullivan and his financial team work tirelessly on this. They're in constant communication asking when the next ones will be available. We're processing them. As you can imagine, this is a very robust program. We go through it thoroughly and in great detail to make sure that all the audit work, which the county has assumed is done, and we know that it's been a great partnership and has worked out well for the city. One other thing, we have a little surprise, Mr. President, if that's okay. I'd like to have Commissioner Wright come forward, and we have a little presentation that she'd like to make as well to the City Council, if that's okay. Commissioner?
Good evening, councilmen and women. I'm very happy to be here, Senate President Mr. Farwell. It's always a pleasure to visit my old hometown. I'd like to thank first, before we go any further, Senator Brady, who's always been with us through this endeavor. All the towns that we've been out to, he's been a great support, and also Mr. Clarkson for all his efforts in being a team so that this has been able to, we've been able to bring these checks to you. I do have something this evening that I'd like to present to you. Let me see. I have a gift that will keep giving year after the money's gone. So this is a map of Plymouth County. May I approach your bench, Mr. Farwell?
It's not caught.
This has all the new railroads and the new streets there. And we wanted to present this to the city of Brockton, and our great honor, and thank you for inviting us here this evening. Thank you.
very
I don't know if you want to have the council come up.
I guess we'll give it to clerk. You know, for the record, when the county decided that they would administer the CARES Act funds, I was one of the most severe critics of that. And I'd like to publicly acknowledge tonight, I was wrong. They have done an exceptional job. They have treated us very fairly. And, you know, hindsight is 20/20 vision. I have to give them their due. You certainly distinguish yourself. I have absolutely no complaints. You've been fully transparent. You've published information on your website. And again, I was wrong, and you really deserve another round of applause. Councilors, any questions? Councilor Rodriguez, and then Councilor Cardozo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm glad you said that, because I actually had it written down here. I was going to bring that up. I know it's politically correct for people to, once everybody's saved, for people to jump on and say how great this whole program was. But I do remember the outcry that existed in this city, and I'm glad you guys stood your ground and did what you did for the good of the people in Plymouth County. I was probably the only councilor on this council that basically refused to sign a letter from this council to basically go along with the state delegation, the mayor, and a whole bunch of other entities who are now jumping on the bandwagon saying how great they were and how great of work you've done. But there was an outcry of people that were anti this because they would wanted to give it back to Boston so Boston can manage it. And some of us have seen what Boston has done to the city of Brockton and refused to do that. So I'm actually proud of the fact that you guys stood your ground, and some of us stood our ground to support your cause, to make sure that you guys were one of the very few counties in the country, I mean in the state basically, to manage these funds. Because I honestly think that had this gone back to the state, what's going on throughout the state would actually be happening. So I wanted to make sure that it's publicly stated that, yes, you know, it's that whole thing with politics. You know, after the building goes up, everybody wants to be a part of the picture while we're ribbon cutting. But in the process, there were quite a few people in this city anti-Plymouth County doing that. And the reason why I think you didn't get a letter from this council is because some of us put our foot down and said we weren't going to sign it. I remember telling the council president before Council Farwell, it was my friend from Ward 7, who I basically said, if you're interested in sending a letter from the council, make sure it goes minus my signature, because I'm not signing it, because I don't trust Boston, and I don't believe Boston would serve the city the way it should be served. So thank you for sticking and standing your ground and keeping an eye out on Brockton, because we deserve a lot more. And thank you for your help.
Before we go on to Councilor Cardozo, I know we have the audio engineers. If one of you would like to come up here and sit next to me.
We didn't send one.
Councilor Rodriguez sounded like he just came out of the Cape Cod Cafe at closing time. I mean, it's, you know, it's just...
Say that again? I didn't hear you.
It's jumbled for the presiding officer, and we need to get this squared away. I know it's okay at home, but for whoever may be up here.
Can I bring all the levels up? I think sitting so close to the mic now, so you can sit in whatever position, but as you get closer to the mic, that's what we heard with you, I believe. So if you talk now from where you were at.
If I talk now, but it's still bouncing back. I think you guys need to sit back here to listen to this, because I also have a little note in here, because I wanted to thank you guys for donating this sound system to the city. And thank you for the donation, because honestly, if we paid for this, this is not what we should be living with. It sounds so, you know, like you're speaking in a drum somewhere, and it bounces back, and it just, this isn't, again, what dollars should be paying for. So, again, if it was free, we will live with it, but if we paid for it, we should actually get what we paid for.
Councilor Cardozo, I'm sorry, but hopefully I can hear what you say.
Well, hopefully you all can hear me. I want to thank you all for being here tonight for the presentation, but for me and for many people in this city, it's nice to receive this money. We need this money. We need to continue to push to get more funding to Brockton, but we need detailed, itemized reports of where the money is going, because there are still people suffering in this community. People still can't pay rent. They're still getting COVID. We're going to get another wave. There's a lot going on here, and from what I'm hearing from my constituents, they don't know where this money is going or where it's gone. So it would be, you know, for optics, this is great. We're taking pictures, we're handing out checks, but I think this council needs to really demand that we have receipts, itemized receipts, so we know exactly where it's going for full transparency for the public. Thank you.
If I might. Yes. Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, just to put your mind at ease, not only is this detailed thoroughly for the city in the package that we present, but we have to report to the United States Treasury every penny. And so there is a thorough documentation. And just so that the council understands the rigorous review process this goes under, when any application comes from any one of our 27 communities, it goes directly to a certified public accountant's office. They review every single application, not only to make sure that it meets the statute of CARES, but that it meets all of the guidelines of state statutes as well. It then gets reviewed again by the comptroller in my office. Then it comes to my review. So one of the reasons the Plymouth County CARES program has received national recognition is because of the accounting we do. So please rest assured, every penny is documented, every penny is accounted for, and if anyone needs any additional information, please feel free to call my office directly, and we'll be happy to provide that. But
Could you provide that for the council, detailed receipts on what we've spent our CARES Act funding to date?
what I can certainly provide and make available absolutely is every reimbursement that the council has received and what it was for.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. It's something, because I'm telling you, people in this city, they see the checks coming in, but they're still living check to check. They're not paying rent. They're not eating. They're suffering. So they want to see more than, checks coming in. They want to see where the money's going for full accountability and transparency.
More than happy. Please understand, too, there's a lot of federal money. This is only one portion of that federal money. Mm-hmm. In fact, I would suggest this portion is probably the most accounted for portion. There are other monies that the state is managing and that the federal government is managing directly. This is separate from that. But this is to reimburse expenses that were directly in response to the pandemic, and we'll be happy to show where that is. That's a very easy thing to do.
Okay, and as far as the American Rescue Plan, maybe you touched on it, but it's so bad, the audio here. How much have we received to date, do you know? Or is that?
Has Brockton received? A little more than $13.6 million.
13.6 million? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And do you have the sheet that Commissioner Valenzola presented? Because I think it's important that the city realize how much they benefited, and I appreciate Councilor Roderick's comments about supporting this program, and we really appreciated that because it has significantly benefited the city of Brockton. And the team you have here in the mayor's office and in the finance office has been really good about getting money back to the city of Brockton.
Okay, so I have a resolution as an aside so we can discuss further the American Rescue Plan and where those funds are being prioritized, because I believe it should be a public discussion around what we feel should be prioritized in this city. So hopefully we'll hear that soon. I have a resolution coming up shortly to talk about that. But thank you for your time.
Thank you. And again, thank you to the city, to the mayor for participating in our program and making it such a wild success.
Councilor Lally and then Councilor Azak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Point of order, do we stand for this?
We should, yes.
Okay.
The
I just wanted to, say thank you to you guys for bringing the check and all of that and being a really great partner through the entire process. Treasurer O'Brien, you've been available for any questions or concerns. The city was not as favorable as it should have been, I think, at the beginning of this, for the county keeping the money. I didn't sign a letter. I don't know if we ever submitted one, but I do believe that, this was the best place for it. We are very lucky to live in Brockton, and Brockton's a great place to be, and part of that is because of Plymouth County. Plymouth County's a great place to be as well. I think we actually have the only treasurer who's certified to be a treasurer. And I don't know who this would go to, but either you or one of the commissioners, because this is Commissioner Valenzola's paper. But we've got that Brockton has received 75% of their funds to date. Do you have any kind of timeline for the rest of that?
Yes, absolutely, and I'll get to answer that because I have to do that hard work. Before I do, I really want to commend the commissioners because they stood up and said, we want to accept this federal money because we know we can bring it back to our communities and bring it back to the city of Brockton. There were some naysayers, but those have quickly gone by the wayside as they see the success, and that took a lot of courage for them to do it. And I also appreciated them telling me to then do all the work, which I was happy to do. So the rest of the money, the team has been very diligent in the finance department to apply for that money. So we have applications for the rest of that money. It's under review by our team. So it's under review by our CPA and our comptroller. I can't give you a timeline. This may surprise everyone, but there are other communities in Plymouth County. And so we do this chronologically. And so we are trying to get to them as quickly as we can. But we have deadlines that we have to meet that are federally required, and we will certainly meet those deadlines. 45. I also have to give a shout out, if I could, to Councilor Castro, who has been very supportive. She serves on our advisory board. She is constantly making sure that we're on top of this as well. So we appreciate her advocacy and her support.
Well, I appreciate it. And for my colleagues, Treasurer O'Brien did tell me that Brockton was his favorite city in Plymouth County.
Absolutely, unequivocally.
And the only city, I think.
No, so the only question I'd have is I was hoping you could expand a little more on Plymouth County's costs. I know you've noted that and how little you've been able to keep it compared to the whole thing, so I didn't know if you had anything you'd like to say on that.
Yeah, I apologize. I lost the last end of that, Counselor. Oh. I couldn't hear what you were asking.
Plymouth County's costs.
Oh, yes.
I didn't know if you wanted to expound on it at all.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that because Commissioner Valenzola mentioned nationwide administering the CARES program is costing those administrators between 5 to 7%. We've done it for less than 1%. So I think, Council, you're asking how do we do that? We do it by effectuating economies of scale. Realizing we're doing it for 27 communities, we hired really, I think, a fantastic team with Kinshirf CPA. Folks in Brockton are familiar with his work, I think. And so he's done a lot of that front end work for us. And then the county is using its resources, and we're already on staff to cover the rest of that cost. So that has allowed us to really keep those administrative costs at or below 1%. We did receive, I mentioned, national recognition for that. I was on a call last week about how we were able to keep our costs down so low. And again, highlighting the team that we have at Plymouth County. People have pitched in when we need to make sure we get this done.
Great work, Mr. Treasurer. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Razak.
Thank you, Mr. President. So just a point of information through you to my colleagues. As Councilor Rodriguez mentioned, there was talk of last year when we were discussing who would manage these funds, there was talk of a letter being put together, but it never came about. So just to answer your questions, there never was a letter because I spoke with Commissioner Hanley and a number of you commissioners, and the council as a whole was not all in support of this letter, so that's why it did not come about. So that I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Move to. Oh,
No.
Councilor Ianieri and Councilor Castro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to clarify my mind because there's two things that I see there in front of us. One of which is what we're discussing here is the Plymouth County CARES Act, which I think does in some way definitely do, a great need for the city of Brockton. And I might say to the treasurer and to those present from the county field as well that even when the letter came before me, I was a little skeptical about where and what was going to be done here and how it would be handled and to make sure that it got in the right hands to be handled, because I guess being the oldest politician around here in the city and city government, if you leave it up to the state, you never see what the state, you never can believe, you know what I mean? So I'll leave that alone, right? You know where I'm going with that, Mr. Treasurer, and I appreciate that. But I also see that, the other item that we have on our agenda, which probably goes in direction to what Councilor Cardozo was even just talking about. I think when we get to that particular item of Chapter 44, which recommends to the City Council to authorize appropriation to amount of, $34,590,793, I think that's more or less money that can be used the way the city sees it to be used, if I'm correct, somewhat, in the way that she's talking about, I think, trying to get, the people that need rental, those types of things. Am I right or wrong? I'm just trying to clear my mind.
Well, I do apologize. I'm not familiar with your full agenda, so I'm not sure I can really answer that question. But I'll be happy to, at a later point, look through what you've got in front of you and answer that.
Okay.
We're just here again to talk about CARES. I am prepared to talk about the American Rescue Plan Act, but I do want the councilors to have their questions and comments before we touch on that briefly.
But it is two separate items, because that's covering for reimbursement for the purpose of the COVID in itself and everything that it transpired. So I would think that would be where the municipal services could be, you know, for us to do whatever we need to do there to help other people out, I would think.
It does seem to be the case, but again, I don't have
Yeah,
that.
that'll be a discussion on our own, at our finance meeting when we get to that at the next finance level. But thank you, and I thank everybody here from Plymouth County and everything that you're doing down there, Mr. Treasurer. You do a good job.
Thank you very much. That means a lot. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, we're still with the mics. We can hear when we're speaking on this side, but we can't hear.
We're working on it.
And it's really still tough to hear them speaking from the podium. So when they're speaking over there, it's just like, we don't know what the heck they're saying. And still, it's reverberating from him, from the podium there, too. It's still getting some bounce back.
Mr. Cruz and I will get to it. You know how I can be
It's free, though.
pushy at times.
We know all about that, yes.
Councilor Nicastro.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. O'Brien and Ms. Wright. Thank you for being here. I was working, so I didn't hear all of your presentation. Forgive me. But I wanted to ask, you did mention that the city has received, I'm using my outside voice, the city has received $13.6 million. What do we have pending?
Approximately $4 million and change.
So that's nearly all of it.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
You, as I mentioned, and I think you had stepped out, the city has applied for all of it. It's under review by our team.
Okay. Okay. No sense of timing since you do it chronologically as
Yeah, we do have to, and I said it a bit tongue-in-cheek that we have 27 communities, but we do have, and we're just going in order as to when the applications came in and processing them as quickly as we can. The point that I think Commissioner Valenzola was making is that we're still ahead of the curve, and we'll do it as quickly as we can and get it out to you. I know you call in regularly, so don't hesitate to call next week, and I'll give you another weekly update as to where we are in the process.
Okay. And as to my calls, I just wanted to say they're always returned. The information is accurate. CFO Clarkson's been terrific as well. I compare what you say to what he says. I'm supposed to do that. And I am very pleased with how it has gone. Thank you very much. Oh, and did you talk about ARPA?
I have not yet, no.
Okay, thank you.
I will say that Mr. Clarkson and his team are a pleasure to work with. We have regular conversations, and they're very diligent in applying for these resources.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else? Mr. Clarkson, just for the benefit of people at home, we've received these big checks. Would you explain where they're deposited and what would happen to those funds if, in fact, the mayor decided that he wanted to access them? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, and it's a pleasure to have the folks from the county here. When we embarked on this challenge of the pandemic, we had massive expenses for PPE for our first responders and finding a way to vaccinate citizens, and so this assistance has been an immeasurable help. The way that the process has worked, the funds that we receive from the county are on a reimbursement basis. So the money that we received tonight will go to reimburse the city for funds already expended for COVID-related items. And so we have a very detailed accounting from each department and the money that they've expended. And from a technical budgetary standpoint, the way it works is those funds were expended out of the city budgets, and when the money comes in from the county, it will literally reimburse those budgets so that they won't be in a deficit. It's allowed us to expend those funds without having to worry about whether or not we were going to be able to provide for our first responders and our educators and our nurses and provide vaccines to our citizens. So this has been a critical part of the city's COVID puzzle.
All right, no further questions. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve the resolve, which we agreed to act upon this evening. All those in favor? All those opposed? It is a vote. Thank you very much again.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, item number 5.
Appointment of Michael Mentor of 37 Barry Street, Brockton, Mass. as a constable in the city of Brockton for a term of 3 years.
Referred to the Committee on Finance.
Appointment of Larry D. Young, Brockton, Mass. to the Brockton Community Access Board for a 3-year term ending August 2024.
Referred to the Committee on Finance.
Number 7, hearing. Petition of Abe's Garage LLC for a garage license located at 300 North Montello Street, Brockton, Mass. In the City Clerk's office, March 16th, 2021. Hearing assigned for August 23, 2021. Fire Department has no objections and all paperwork is on file.
All right, the time having arrived for the hearing, I declare it open. Councilors, you don't have to stand for a hearing. Is there someone here from Abe's Garage that would like to make a brief presentation? Come forward, sir. Welcome.
Thank you very much. My name is Ben Resnikoff, 1061 Concord Road, Marlborough, Massachusetts. I'm here as a partner of Abe's Garage LLC, which is a fully family-owned business. We're here to request approval of our application for a garaging license for the storage, long-term storage of classic and collector automobiles and motorcycles in a secure and community environment. And I say those two things because they matter to the business that we want to run. First of all, community. If you know anybody who loves their car, you know they love to talk about it. So what we'd like to do is bring these people together in a safe environment where they can hang out and talk about what they love. And the secure side is, well, if we're going to ask people to bring their pride and joy and park it somewhere that's not sitting right next to their house, they need to make sure that they feel comfortable about the security. So we have a way to answer that. One of the things that we're going to provide is to get on the premises, to get through the gates, and then again to get inside the building, we're going to be using a facial recognition app. The company that's developing that for us has been working with the federal government, the TSA, the military, very large companies that are security conscious. And you might wonder why they would be interested in working with us, a small business. And the answer, actually, I'm proud to say, is because my father founded the business back in the early 90s. Back in the early 90s when the internet was still new and everybody had dial-up, which was very, very slow, I'm sure you remember. His company, Aware, was on the forefront. They created DSL, Digital Subscriber Line, which was the faster dial-up. I don't know if anybody remembers that. Now, of course, with broadband, that's no longer needed. So the company has pivoted, and now they're doing this. So it's a really nice way to, again, support this family idea. And why is it a family idea? Because we all love cars. I have 6 cars. We bought our house because of the garage. That comes down through the generations. The reason it's called Abe's Garage is because my grandfather, Abe, he was a car lover. And really the seminal moment to pass that down through the generations was when my father, whom I've mentioned, went to MIT at age 16. My grandfather's very proud of him and gave him a Jaguar XK140 to show his support. The one regret that my father ever talked about was when he graduated, he gave the car back. But that's not to say that was the only interesting car. He's always had interesting cars throughout his entire life, and he passed that on to us. So we love this idea. It's not just a business for us, it's a passion. And we're really excited about being in Brockton because Brockton seems like a very, very good community for this. The idea is to, as I've said, bring in these people, but it's not just to have them be isolated. We also want to be involved with the community. So we're interested in reaching out and seeing if we can, for example, put something together with the Fuller Craft Museum. Obviously, there's a lot of craft that's involved in the classic cars. See if there's some synergy there. See if we can bring some fun events into the city that we can sponsor. And just generally have a good business that's mindful of the community and supportive in any way we can be.
Questions? Councilor Lally?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll just say that I've worked very closely with Mr. Reznikoff and his brother. They've been very receptive, very interested in doing right by the city, and running a good business and making a good business. Myself and several of my colleagues did get a tour of the business. They do a very good job, and I would just, it's in my ward, I would just ask my colleagues to support this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Councilor Iannieri.
If I might, Mr. Chairman, I just want to echo what my colleague from Ward 6 was just mentioning in regards to the facility. And I was down there the other day. I did meet your brother, and I was there with Councilor Lally and with the mayor and a couple of his staff people as well. And very, very impressed with what you've done with the facility in itself from what it looked like from a few years back. So, I mean, I give you the A+ to, I don't know, AAA+, I guess, because it really looks good. Explain to us everything that was going to be done and just how you're going to make the bays for, when the people want to, come in and put their car in and make sure everyone's car fits and everything. So I think it's a great idea. I really, really do. And with people that want to keep their car away from, a home garage that can sometimes be broken into, and one of the questions I had was for security, and your brother mentioned, through Councilor Ellie as well, that, the security is there based upon how it's locked and everything like that. So I'm quite in favor of it, and I just think you did a great job with it. So good luck. I really do.
Thank you very much.
I'm an old car salesman, so good luck. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else here in favor? Anyone else here in favor? If not, I declare that part of the hearing closed. Anyone else? Anyone here in opposition? Is there anyone here in opposition? If not, I declare that part of the hearing closed. Councilors, the question comes on granting. All those in favor of granting? All those opposed? It is a vote.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Very excited.
Best of luck.
Mr. Clerk.
Item number 8, petition of J.J. Simonelli Realty Trust for a transfer of garage license located at 1489 Main Street, Brockton, Mass.
Mr. President?
Councilor Lally.
Sorry to interrupt. I'd like to move to a motion for reconsideration. Hopes this is not prevailed.
Second.
On the prior item.
On the prior item.
All right, there's been a motion made and seconded for reconsideration in the hope that it does not prevail. All those in favor? All those opposed? Reconsideration fails.
Number 8, petition of J.J. Simonelli Realty Trust for a transfer of garage license located at 1489 Main Street, Brockton, Mass. In the City Clerk's office, February 25th, 2021. Hearing assigned for August 23, 2021. Fire Department has no objections. All paperwork is on file.
Time having arrived, I declare the hearing on this matter open. Is there anyone here in favor? Please step forward and give your name to the clerk.
Good evening. My name is John Simonelli, J.J. Simonelli Realty Trust of 149 Packet Street in Avon, Mass.
Questions, councilors? Any questions? Councilor Nicastro?
Thank you. Good evening. Mr. Simonelli purchased this property in November. He is seeking the garage license. There was a letter in the packet from the prior owner, I believe, assenting to this, and I do support this.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else? Mr. Simonelli, the chair has a question, and that is that you purchased this property in November, and you have been operating at this location without a license. Why?
I've been trying since back then to gain access and get everything forwarded to myself. I started the process to do it, but due to COVID, back in getting in and out of City Hall was tough, and I started the process. There are existing licenses due to, the prior owner. So I was just trying to do everything that I could to get forwarded to myself. But I started with the process back, I don't know exactly when it was, but I had everything started, and then I had a few issues with compressor inspections and so forth through the state, and everything just kept getting delayed to get inspections done, and then I finally had everything taken care of. So I came forward and trying to get it all. I've been operating under the previous, and he's still helping me out. They're still there daily doing everything, and we're still operating under their license.
But the fact is, for the record, you purchased the property, you opened your business there, and for the record, you have been operating without a license. As a matter of fact, today, didn't you do some body work on a vehicle down there? Do you have a body repair license?
All the body repair work is being done under Bob's Auto, sir.
Yes. I understand, but Bob's Auto no longer owns that property, is that correct?
Yes.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else here in favor? Anyone else here in favor? If not, I declare that part of the hearing closed. Anyone in opposition? Anyone here in opposition? If not, I declare that part of the hearing closed. The matter now comes on granting. Those in favor? Those opposed? License is granted. I'm sorry, Councilor Castro, I couldn't hear you.
Please count me in favor.
I can't hear you.
I was in favor.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very
You can
much.
stay there.
Mr. Simmons, stay there.
Mr. Simonelli, you can stay there. We got the next one now. That was the garage license. Now, item number 9 is a petition of Simonelli's Automotive, Inc. of 149 Packard Street, Avon, for a transfer of motor vehicle repair mechanical license and transfer of motor vehicle repair body license located at 1489 Main Street, Brockton, Mass. In City Clerk's office, February 25th, 2021. Hearing assigned for August 23rd, 2021. Fire Department has no objections. All paperwork is on file.
All right, the time having arrived, I declare the hearing open on this matter. You've heard the presentation from Mr. Simonelli. Any questions for him on this particular matter? Any questions? Right. Is there anyone else here in favor? Anyone else here in favor? If not, I declare that part of the hearing closed. Is there anyone here in opposition? Is there anyone here in opposition? If not, I declare that part of the hearing closed. Councilor Nicastro,
Thank you.
seek recognition.
Thank you, colleagues. I'll just use my outside voice.
Councilor, you can sit during a hearing.
Thank you. I was delayed in getting in touch with Mr. Simonelli. We did not speak until this morning. And he and I have reached a compromise. He has agreed to some conditions to the license, which I'm happy to read into the record. And we're going forward subject to our understanding that he is going to present me with a surveyor prepared plan of his parking area so that it's clearly delineated the size of the building, the parking lot. He is also separate to this repair license running a tow business, and he has space in his back parking lot for the cars that and trucks that he tows there. He's going to have a surveyor prepare a plan that will clearly set out where all of these things are located, clearly set forth the number of parking spaces that are available for this repair business. So we're going to go forward tonight, and he has given me a written representation that he will get that to us within 30 days. Okay, and in the meantime, we do have some stipulations to the licenses that we have agreed to.
Okay, so you both have stipulations that have been agreed to?
Yes.
All right. Councilors, do you want them read, or do you want them accepted as part of the application? Your choice.
Mr. President, it's been a long night. I expect, looking through this agenda, that we'll have a lot more agenda items to go through. If it's acceptable to the councilor from Ward 4, if we would just accept the stipulations as part of the written record.
Yes, that's fine. Mr. Simonelli has an original copy. I have one for the city, and I have one for my own records. Yes, thank you.
Thank you,
So
Mr. President.
The question is on granting, subject to the stipulations that have been agreed to by Councilor Nicastro and the applicant. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? All opposed? It is a vote.
Thank you.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Clerk, item number 10.
Petition of George LaGrice, Basement Power Sports, 105 Cedar Street, East Bridgewater, for a motor vehicle repair mechanical license and motor vehicle repair body license located at 21 Terminal Place, Brockton, Mass. In City Clerk's office, August 11th, 2020. Hearing assigned for August 23rd, 2021. Fire Department has no objections. All paperwork is on file.
The time having arrived, I declare this hearing open. Councilor Nicastro, do you seek recognition?
Yes, thank you. Mr. President, I wish to make a motion to postpone this hearing until the next City Council meeting. I have spoken with the applicant, Mr. LaGrice. He is in agreement. There are a few things that still have to be satisfied.
All right, councilors, there's been a motion to postpone this hearing, which has been open, so we do not have to advertise it again. Who seconded that?
I did.
Councilor Azak seconded that. Question is on postponement. All in favor? All opposed? It is a vote.
Thank you.
Number 11, petition of Colbia Enterprises LLC of 7 Starline Way, Cranston, Rhode Island, for a flammable storage underground license amendment located at 955 Belmont Street, Brockton, Mass. In City Clerk's office, March 3rd, 2021. Hearing assigned for August 23rd, 2021. Fire Department has no objections. All paperwork is on file.
All right, the time having arrived, I declare the hearing open on this application. Is there someone here to speak for the company in favor? Welcome, sir.
Good evening. My name's Eric Simpson. I'm a professional geologist for Colbia Enterprises. I'm in charge of all the things under the ground. We're here tonight. As you guys may all know, we're developing a Seasons Corner Market where the old Shell station was across from the VA hospital on 123. And we are here before council tonight to seek an amendment of our existing petroleum storage license to reduce the number of gallons from 40,000 gallons that's been in place since 1989 down to 30,000 gallons. We've removed the 4 underground tanks that were present, that were operated by Shell Oil, the predecessor owner of the property. And we've installed a pair of brand new 15,000 gallon tanks, and we're here for the amended license to reduce our number of gallons.
Questions, councilors? Any questions? If not, is there anyone else here in favor? Anyone else here in favor? If not, I declare that part of the hearing closed. Anyone here in opposition? Is there anyone here in opposition? If not, I declare that part of the hearing closed. The question now comes on granting the request. All in favor of granting? All opposed? Unanimous vote. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item number 12, report of the Finance Committee for its meeting of August 16th, 2021.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communications from the Plymouth County Commissioners concerning the annual assessment.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the mayor, submitting a letter from Richard Bath stepping down from the War Memorial Board of Trustees effective July 27th, 2021.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor requesting that the City Council approves the request for a waiver under Section 2-100 of the ordinances of the City of Brockton on behalf of Dr. Eno Mondesir, Executive Health Officer of the Board of Health.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the Chief of Police requesting authorization to expend grant monies related to the State of Massachusetts Office of Grants and Research, Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, Bulletproof Vest Program in the amount of $17,136.77.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Chief of Police requesting authorization to expend grant monies related to the Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center in partnership with Toyota Motor Company, 2021-22 Buckle Up for Life grant in the amount of $10,000.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Acting IT Director requesting a transfer in the amount of $55,283 from unappropriated estimated receipts to Information Technology Center full-time salaries.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Acting Director of Green Communities Division awarding a grant in the amount of $196,881 from the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, Department of Energy Resources, Green Communities Competitive Grant to Finance Department Green Communities Competitive Grant Fund.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Chief of Police requesting authorization to expend donated funds from the Brockton Council on Aging Triad to be used exclusively towards Project Lifesaver, a location technology program as needed for the Brockton Police Department in the amount of $8,810.13.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Grant Coordinator, Brockton Police Department, requesting authorization of and acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $568,038 from fiscal year 2022. Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, State 911, Department Support and Incentive Grant to the Brockton Police Department Fiscal Year 22 Support and Incentive Grant Fund.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Chief of Fire Department requesting acceptance of a donation of 468 cases of bottles of water from C. Kearney Environmental to the City of Brockton Fire Department.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Mayor in accordance with general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the appropriation of $200,217.79 from the Stabilization Fund to the Library Department, personal services other than overtime, for purposes of funding the collective bargaining agreement between the City and Library Union without a detrimental impact on the continuous provision of the existing level of municipal services.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the Mayor in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the appropriation of $79,834.34 from the Stabilization Fund to the Board of Health, Council on Aging, DPW Administration, DPW Engineering, DPW Water Enterprise, Finance Department, Library Department, Parks and Recreation, Police Department, Procurement Department, Veterans Department, all to the personal services other than overtime, for the purpose of funding the SEIU Local 888 Department Heads Unit Union Contract without detrimental impact on the continuous provision of the existing level of municipal services. This appropriation provides funding for 3 years, July 21, 2019 through June 30, 2022, of a 3-year contract.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the Mayor in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the appropriation of $249,504.54 from the Stabilization Fund to Animal Control, Assessor's Office, Auditor's Office, DPW Administration, DPW Refuse Division, DPW Sewer Enterprise, DPW Water Enterprise, Elections Commission, Board of Health, Information Technology Center, Law Office, License Commission, Parking Authority, Parks and Recreation Department, Police Department, Public Property Department, Veterans Office, and Weights and Measures Department, all to personal services other than overtime, for the purpose of funding the Brockton City Employees Union contract without detrimental effect on the continuous provision of the existing level of municipal services. This appropriation provides funding for 3 years, July 1, 2019 through June 30, 2022, of a 3-year contract.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the mayor, in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the approval of $81,313 from unappropriated estimated receipts to Finance Department full-time salaries.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the mayor, in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the appropriation up to an amount of $34,590.793 from unappropriated estimated receipts, American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, disbursement for purposes of COVID response, mitigation, and prevention activities. These funds are to be expended at the sole discretion of the mayor without a detrimental impact on the continuous provision of the existing level of municipal services.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the CFO relative to the same.
President, I think that was read as 34,000 instead of 34 million.
I believe, if I had that wrong, it's $34,590,793. My mistake. Okay. Thank you for the correction.
Slight variation.
Couple zeros.
It's all money.
All right.
From the mayor, in accordance with general laws of Chapter 40, Massachusetts Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize a revolving fund for fiscal year 2022 for the sole purposes of funding the creation and maintenance of the Roadway Design and Construction Fund. The Roadway Design and Construction Revolving Fund shall receive the receipts of payments of fines and fees for the engineering, design, construction, and paving of projects. Expenditures from the Roadway Design and Construction Fund Revolving Fund shall be made on the authority and direction of the Brockton Department of Public Works Commissioner, provided that no more than $1 million may be so expended from the Roadway Design and Construction Revolving Fund during fiscal year 2022.
Accepted and placed on file.
From a communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Unfinished business, an ordinance amending Article 2, Section 1.004 of the revised ordinances of the City of Brockton. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Brockton as follows. Section 1.004, regulation of marijuana sales, is amended by adding the following sections where appropriate. A, there shall be no more than 2 licenses issued for the delivery of marijuana products pursuant to regulations promulgated by the Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission. Priority shall be given to an applicant for a license to deliver marijuana products who currently holds a license for the conduct of marijuana businesses within the City of Brockton. B, there shall be a moratorium on the issue of any license to allow social consumption of marijuana for a period of 2 years from the date of adoption of this ordinance. There shall be a moratorium on the issuance of any license to allow delivery of retail marijuana for a period of 120 days or until such time as zoning and use ordinances are adopted by the City of Brockton, whichever shall occur first. In City Council, March 22, 2021, Bretta referred to the Standing Committee on Ordinance. That report was favorable as amended. In City Council, June 28, 2021, the amendment passed by a hand vote. Passed to a third reading as amended by a hand vote. Postponed from July 26 meeting. The question comes on adoption.
Councilors, Legislative Council has additional information for you.
So I've just been asked to clarify what the council is voting on tonight and what the actual version will show. So what's shown on your agenda, the first part, Section A, is not being adopted tonight, but basically tonight's adoption, the ordinance would result in a 2-year moratorium on social consumption. And again, that's the opt-in program. There's no regulations out right now on how that would work. And 120 days from today for delivery licenses or until such time as the ordinance committee in this body adopts an ordinance on the issue of delivery. So it doesn't have anything to do with limiting the number of delivery licenses in the city.
Okay. Any question, Councilor Cardoza?
Thank you, Attorney Resnick. I actually postponed this so we can get clarity because you weren't available last meeting, and it's been a little bit since we visited this topic. So just to clarify, do we need to change this language then?
Nope, so the order, the way that it shows up on your agenda just reflects part of the language of when it was first submitted. So if you read from after B, the ordinance as adopted, if it was passed tonight, would state, there shall be a moratorium on the issuance of any license to allow social consumption of marijuana for a period of 2 years from the date of adoption of this ordinance. There shall be a moratorium on the issuance of any license to allow delivery of retail marijuana for a period of 120 days or until such time as zoning and use ordinances are adopted by the city of Brockton, whichever shall occur first. And if there's any comfort for the city council, changing your ordinances, at least the adult use for delivery is very simple. It just really requires you to add the class of license to your ordinances and establish a fee. Otherwise, the same process for retail will apply. So it's something that the ordinance committee can get to fairly quickly. And then again, with the 2-year moratorium on social consumption, if for whatever reason this council decides maybe in a year from now, hey, we have an opportunity for social consumption, we want to allow that, the council can do an ordinance to revoke that section of the ordinance.
Okay, that's clear for me. So the opt-in program, there are no regulations, so we can revisit it later on and opt in if we wanted to, or...
Yep, and it would just require the body to revoke the ordinance.
And remove the moratorium?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yep, and that's exactly what we did when we established the retail licenses. We did a moratorium for a set period of time. We extended it because it did take us some time to adopt those ordinances, but we had a moratorium on retail licenses for the entirety of the time while the ordinance committee and the council vetted the ordinances.
Okay, I appreciate that because we know that this is industry, things are changing all the time. So I just wanted to clarify for the public and hopefully we get more public input. I've asked for that in the past around this from folks who are part of this process and have been part of the process all along. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Thompson?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I just want to clarify with Legislative Council. The Section A regarding the restriction to 2 delivery licenses, that is not being voted on. That's a moot point.
Correct. That was
Okay.
stricken in ordinance, so when it made it back to the council, the amendment that was adopted back on June 28th excluded that language.
Right, so that language is stricken at this
Correct.
point. Okay. Secondly, the 2-year moratorium. You're saying that is not stricken, that is part of this ordinance, but due to the opt-in requirements for social consumption, you're saying if we ever come up to the point where we may want to opt in, then within the 2-year period, we would have to then revoke this section of the ordinance.
Correct, and you would do it at the same time as you would be developing your ordinances for what that would look like. The social consumption is a pilot program in the state right now. It is so new, and as the city solicitor commented, it does require this assumption that you can smoke within facilities, which she believes and many attorneys believe is a violation of state law. So there's a lot of changes that need to happen on the state level. So you have time as a council, if you decide, as the city is going to do social consumptions, you develop that, and you can just change that ordinance when you get there, if it's before the 2-year mark.
Okay, understood. And then originally, I believe we had a 180-day restriction for delivery, and that's been amended to 120 days, right? That's what this is saying. I just want to be clear that.
The original ordinance that was first submitted to the body actually didn't have a restriction on delivery. This 120 days, I believe, was added at the June 28th as an additional amendment. So it wasn't something that was adopted in ordinance. I believe Councilor Councilor Castro supported it at that meeting. So 120 days was about our estimate as to how long it would take for the ordinance committee to be able to change the ordinances. Because if you're changing your zoning, that requires publication, requires a public hearing. So that's why it's 120 days.
Okay, understood. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else? Councilor Castro.
Thank you. I just want to comment that I'm grateful to Councilor Thompson for clarifying all that. On this side of the room, we're having a very hard time hearing Attorney Resnick.
I agree. All right, the question now comes on final passage by roll call vote the ordinance as amended. Would you please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Ianary?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
The matter is ordained.
Item 50, ordered that the City of Brockton appropriates the amount of $19,100,000 for the purpose of paying costs of designing and constructing water system improvements, but not limited to water main replacements, in 1, the North Main Street, North Montello Street Loop, 2, North Main Street, and 3, Martland Avenue, repairs and paving incidental to making such improvements, and the pavement of all costs incidental or related thereto. To meet this appropriation, the city treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow said amount under General Laws, Chapter 44, subsection 8-4, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the city therefore. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the cost of the issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote, in accordance with General Laws, Chapter 44, subsection 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount. Further ordered that the city treasurer is authorized to file an application with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Municipal Finance Oversight Board to qualify under Mass General Laws, Chapter 44A, any and all bonds or notes of the city authorized by this vote, and to provide such information and execute such documents as the Municipal Finance Oversight Board of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts may require. In City Council, June 28, 2021, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable. In City Council, July 26, 2021, passed to a third reading by a hand vote. Question comes on adoption.
Councilors, the question is on ordaining this, approving this matter. The clerk will call the roll.
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Ianary?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
Matter is ordained.
Mr. President, I make a motion for reconsideration in hopes that it does not prevail.
Second.
Well, there's a motion made and properly seconded for reconsideration in the hope that it does not prevail. All in favor of reconsideration? All opposed? Reconsideration fails.
Mr. President,
Councilor Lally.
I would like to make a motion that we take item number 71 out of order, and after this motion, I would make another one that we move suspension of the rules and act on it this evening. My reason for that is Chief Nardelli is here, and, you know, we
Second.
don't want to keep him all night.
There is a motion made and properly seconded to take item 71 out of order and act on it this evening. All those in favor? All those opposed? It is a vote. Item number 71, would you read that, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President,
Councilor Lally.
I would also like to make the motion that we take this item under suspension of the rules and deal with it tonight.
Second.
All right. Also, a motion properly made and seconded to act on this evening. All in favor? All opposed? It is a vote. Mr.
Number
Clerk.
71, ordered in accordance with the General Laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the acceptance of a donation of 468 cases of water bottles from C County Environmental to City of Brockton Fire Department.
Chief, I don't know if you need to say anything on this. Obviously, coming into hurricane season, the water can certainly be used, but please offer any comments.
Thank you, councilors. Thank you, Mr. President. This was donated about a month ago now, and it's been sitting on our apparatus floors in our stations. I don't know if water can go bad, but would like to be able to get it into a place better housed. Hydration, obviously, with the fire service is very important. I think we're moving into a time where hopefully we don't need mass amounts of consumption. I know we prepared greatly for this storm that really didn't happen the way we thought it might, but I would appreciate a yes vote on this if we could to kind of move along with it.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to recommend favorably.
Second.
Actually, it would be a motion
you gotta
to
take a vote.
approve, I believe, wouldn't it?
It's just a vote to approve.
It's a motion, yeah, vote to approve.
Move to approve, then.
Move to approve.
Yeah.
So motion by Councilor Azak to approve, seconded by Councilor Monahan. All those in favor? All those opposed? It is a vote.
Thank you, councilors.
Stay hydrated.
Councilors, before item 51 is read, this deals with appropriating money for the Brockton retirement system to address unfunded pension liability. Because I am a member of the retirement system, I am going to recuse myself from presiding or voting in this matter, and I would like the record to reflect that, and I will pass the gavel to Councilor Ianieri.
Mr. Clerk, will you please read the item?
Item 51, ordered that the City of Brockton appropriates the amount of $360,900,000 for the purpose of funding all or a portion of the unfunded pension liability of the retirement system of the city and paying bond issuance costs and other expenses necessary or incidental thereto. That to meet this appropriation, the city treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow said amount in accordance with Chapter 483 of the Acts of 2004, Chapter 483. That the total amount authorized to be borrowed pursuant to this order shall be reduced to the extent that the unfunded liability of the retirement system of the city, as determined by the Public Employee Retirement Administration Commission of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the City of Brockton Retirement Board, is less than the total amount authorized to be borrowed by this order. That the city hereby establishes on its books a pension stabilization fund, which shall be available to mitigate unanticipated shortfalls in funding of the city's retirement system upon such terms and conditions as shall be approved by the Secretary of Administration and Finance of the Commonwealth, in accordance with said Chapter 483. That the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to secure the bonds with a municipal bond insurance policy, and that in accordance with the guidelines published by the Executive Office for Administration and Finance, dated April 14, 2004, relating to its criteria for the approval of the issuance of pension obligation bonds, the following disclosure is hereby acknowledged. The use of pension obligation bonds may increase the potential losses associated with pension fund investment. The Commonwealth is not responsible for any losses incurred by a municipality due to the issuance of pension obligation bonds, nor for any increase in unfunded actuarial accrued liability due to deficient investment returns. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with General Laws, Chapter 44, subsection 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount. The authorized but unissued amount of the pension obligation borrowing approved by the City Council in an order adopted on October 11th, 2005 is hereby rescinded. In City Council, June 28th, 2021, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable. In City Council, July 26, 2021, the amendment passed by a hand vote. Passed to a third reading as amended by a hand vote. Question comes on adoption.
Question comes by adoption. Madam Clerk, please rise, Council, if you have a question.
Okay. Good evening, councilors.
Good evening, Council.
I sent you all an email regarding my questions that I continue to have trouble with, and the CFO and I have been going, we've been talking about this for a little bit, and I appreciate the information he shared with us, but for full transparency, I wanted him to come in and discuss it a little further for the public. My questions have been around performance. We've performed poorly for a long time. I sent you all the chart that shows that we've been in the lowest quartile as far as performance for a very long time. I appreciate that the CFO sent us some information regarding 1 year where we performed well, but 5, 10, 35 years, we haven't done well, and we've been at the bottom of the barrel. So to me, I'm not a financial person, but better performance means better returns, more cost savings, and less burden on taxpayers. So I'm really struggling with this appropriation, although I do want to keep our retirees funded. I'm a strong proponent for them to make sure that they're getting the benefits that they need. Dental insurance and, cost of living adjustments are fair. And I don't want to leave this unfunded, but I am really struggling with this because we just haven't performed well. And that's why I sent the information to you all. I'm also concerned that we're borrowing a lot of money, and the CFO and I discussed our borrowing limits. I'm concerned that we could be potentially on a downward spiral financially, and I don't want to see us go into receivership. This is a lot of money, so I would love for the CFO to clarify some of those concerns that I have for the public.
Mr. Clarkson, at this point, I'll ask if you could come up and answer some of those questions and concerns. I just want the City Council to realize that, remember one thing, that the Brockton Retirement Board or the retirement plan in itself does not come under the City Council's jurisdiction of governing, and I think everybody needs to know that, because it never has and never will. But I know they're doing their very best of what they've always done over the last several years in regards to keeping this healthy enough for our retirees. And if there's concerns, then I'm sure you can answer them. But at the same token, I mean, it does have to move forward so that we can keep things going forward as well. Thank you, Mr. Clarkson. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and happy to be before you once again to discuss this very important issue. And I am happy to address the issues and concerns raised by Councilor Cardozo. But to provide a very, very brief overview of this issue, as we've been discussing for some time now, the City of Brockton's obligation to fully fund its pension liability is not a negotiable item or amount. We owe that money to the Brockton Retirement Board. The question before us, before you, is there a way to meet that liability that's less expensive than what we have now? Because right now, this current fiscal year's payment amount due to the Brockton Retirement Board is approximately $30 million, and you met that obligation when you approved this fiscal year's operating budget. That annual amount escalates between now and 12 years from now to approximately $70 million a year. So as you know, several months ago, I assumed a group of professionals, including our finance advisor from Hilltop Securities and our bond counsel and an actuary and my predecessor, Jay Condon, to really see if there was a way to reduce the city's overall expenditure. Not our liability, but our expenditure. And so we began to pursue this issue of issuing pension obligation debt to reduce the city's obligation. So as we discussed several weeks ago when we were all in here, the essence of this project, this initiative, is that we will borrow approximately $360 million, and given current market conditions in the city's strong creditworthiness, we expect to borrow that money at around 2.5%. We expect our rate of return, and this is critical to answer the councilor's questions, in all of our projections, and we've conducted dozens, and I mean dozens, of different risk scenarios to ensure that we were being fiscally responsible and fiscally conservative. So we're projecting a rate of return of approximately 6.75%. And the delta between the interest rates and that rate of return will reduce the overall liability because that benefit accrues to the retirement board. So the key is when you look at the performance of the Brockton retirement system, and I did send you an updated report today, remember we're projecting 6.75%. And over the last 5 years, our performance has been just over 10%. In the last year, we know that the conditions of the market has been 28%. So the councilor is correct that sometimes the Brockton Retirement Board has outperformed the Commonwealth, and other times it has underperformed the Commonwealth. But at all times, and this is the critical point, at all times, it has exceeded its own projection of 7.75%. So the current Brockton Retirement Board, and they set that because they're an independent board, they do have members appointed by the mayor, but they're independent of the city, and they've set that as their rate of return, and they've met it time and time and time again. But in order to be safe and conservative and responsible, we ramped that back even more to 6.75% in our projections about whether or not this pension obligation bond issue would work from a financial standpoint. So I believe the answer is unequivocally yes. The other question about long-term risk and market volatility, we have answered, I think, and I would submit to you better than any retirement system in the Commonwealth. Because what some are doing is they're going to borrow extra money and then set that money aside to guard against any market fluctuations. But as you know, what our proposal is here, and should you approve this tonight, we will be back before you in a short amount of time to ask you to transfer money from that retirement line. Because remember, we appropriated $30 million in this budget, but if we pay the unfunded liability, we have that extra money in the budget. And what we would propose is to take $20 million in cash and set it aside in a reserve fund to guard against any market fluctuations. Why that is such, it's different here than in other places is because that's cash in the city's reserves. So we don't have to borrow extra money to have money in the bank. We're going to take our own money and increase the city's reserves, more than double the amount, the total amount in reserves for the city. And when we speak to folks like S&P and Moody's and the underwriters, they love that idea that we're actually taking cash and setting it aside. And that sets Brockton apart from just about everyone else, not only in the Commonwealth, but in the nation. So I believe we have one of the most fiscally sound, conservative and responsible pension obligation bond projects around. Stifel, who's the underwriter, the company that will underwrite these bonds, currently has more than 30 pension obligation bond projects going nationwide. And I sat in my office with them a couple weeks ago, and I'm happy to bring them here before the council. But they said to me that because of that aspect, because we're putting cash aside in a reserve fund, it is one of the more safe and sound pension obligation initiatives they've seen in the country. So I can stand here before you sincerely and say that we are embarking on something that is responsible to the taxpayers and will provide relief to the taxpayers in the years to come.
One more question. So you're saying we're setting this rate at 6.75 with the hopes that we perform where we've been, around 9%, less than 10%. I'm looking at the percentages here. I sent it to all of you guys. We've been in the lowest quartile for years. So to me, that means nothing if I don't know what the other towns are setting their rates at to be able to compare it. At the end of the day, the performance has been the lowest out of all these municipalities. And so performance, would you agree, is important?
I would agree it's important, but I would also submit to you, Councilor, that this Brockton retirement system has exceeded its projections all along. So I understand that when you look at the performance of other systems, the numbers may be lower and sometimes they're higher. But I think what's important is the members of our retirement board have established a benchmark for performance and have always exceeded that. So
what is the
numbers that
benchmark
matter
based on?
for purposes of this pension obligation bond, the numbers that matter are numbers that exceed 6.75 because that's our goal. And so does the project work at 6.75? Yes. Do we believe we'll get higher than that? Yes. And so any earnings above that conservative amount will only benefit the initiative even that much more.
What is the benchmark? How is that set? Where are they sourcing that?
So that's something that the retirement board does on a periodic basis, but they don't do it on a whim. They have an actuary. They have generously loaned their actuary to us, Linda Borneval, who's been on our pension obligation bond working group for 6 months, has attended our meetings, has worked in calculating dozens of risk scenarios. She and her company advised the retirement board. And so based on long-term performance, conditions of the markets, I mean, that's what actuaries do, right? They predict how numbers are gonna go. And so they set those benchmarks based on performance and market conditions and a whole of other calculations and scenarios and algorithms that are beyond my expertise.
So are we looking at maybe replacing these managers with other managers so that we can get better performance? Because if we're giving this money to the same managers, we don't want the same outcome. I'm just trying to make sure that we are not back here, you know, a couple years from now with this poor performance and having to borrow this large amount of money again. So we need to do a better job to make sure that we're performing well. If these folks are not doing it, we need to find new folks. And the retirement board should have given us a clear plan as to what's their plan to avoid this in the future?
So as I noted in the email this afternoon to the councilor and to all of you, that decision is within the purview of the retirement board and not the city. But yes, they are actually right now in the process of procuring a retirement fund manager. And so they're in that process right now. But I think the answer to the question that the councilor proposes relative to having to come back speaks directly to us establishing that reserve fund, right? The fact that we are not only going to borrow at very, very competitive rates, some of the best I've seen in my career, if not the best, and then invest them and at a very safe rate. But should we experience some 2009 type dynamics, this city is taking a step that very few, if any others, are taking and setting aside an additional $20 million. That's the city's money that we can address should there be some sort of shortfall that requires us additional funding. We have the cash on hand to address that. And that's an advantage that Brockton has that, like I said, very few, if any others, can say.
Okay, and final question as far as the borrowing cap. Is there a limit on our borrowing, and how does this play in? So if this is 360 million, where are we with borrowing right now?
So that's an excellent question, and as I noted to the councilor earlier today, and as I've discussed with you many times, when we discussed the 98 million for the public safety complex, the rating agencies, primarily S&P and Moody's, prefer that you have no more than 10% of your annual budget spent on principal and interest for debt. So for us, that would be somewhere around $45 million. Right now, as you know, in this current fiscal year's budget, our principal and interest is around $15 million. So we are well below that. And in 2028, that dips to $2 million. So that's why we're able to take on the $98 million in debt for the public safety complex, because we're going to manage that debt in a way, we're going to wait for that window of opportunity to open up and slide that additional money in there. So as I've committed to you before, we can build that public safety complex with no additional impact on the taxpayers. We switch to the pension obligation bond side. We are taking on a significant amount of debt. But remember, that's replacing that budgetary amount, most of it, for retirement purposes. We still have what's called the normal cost. That's our ongoing annual payments that we're making. This year, that's about $7 million. But you'll see in next year's budget a significantly reduced retirement budget in your operating budget and more money for the debt payment for pension obligation debt. So that 10% limit is for general obligation debt, and the rating agencies look at the pension obligation debt differently. So I can say to you with confidence, and it's not just Troy's opinion, we've discussed this with our finance advisors, with our bond counsel, with the rating agencies. This is why I assembled that team that's worked together for 6 months so that we could have a collective recommendation for you based on years of experience, that issuing this debt will not cause any challenges for us in terms of our debt profile in the way, in our ability to fund other projects through general obligation debt.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clarkson. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, Council. Any other councilors? Councilor Mendez and then Councilor Thompson.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for being here and clarifying some of Councilor Cardozo's questions that have been very good questions. My question in regards to the poor performance from the board, the reason that we're having to borrow this much money is due to their poor performance, or is it due to increase of our own liability? Because from what you stated, it seems that our liabilities per year, it just keeps on increasing. So is there poor performance like having to deal, because it is concerning that we're borrowing this much money and that we're giving it in the same hands of the people that are going to have to be handling this. So can you just clarify why are we in this position again? I know you've stated that our liability has increased, but you've also stated that they have always met their benchmark. So why are we in this position? Is there poor performance the reason? Because that is a very legitimate?
So that's an excellent question, and I would first respectfully challenge the notion or the phrase poor performance, because as I mentioned, the retirement board has set a benchmark and a target for what level of achievement they would like with the investments, and have at all times exceeded it. And so they've met their benchmarks and their goals for the investment of the retirement funds. And so the need for this pension obligation bond is not because of the performance of the current investments. It's simply a function of our obligations to meet the agreement, the contract that we have with our employees, and the number of employees the city has hired over the years, and the fact that people live longer. I mean, the actuarial tables reflect the fact that people live longer. And so when people retire, they live good, long lives and productive lives in retirement. And so we want to have the funds to be able to pay them. We have to, it's our obligation. And so that's the reason for this. Now, that's based on this year's numbers. That calculation is made on an annual basis. And so the number of employees we have and how many, if there's a, this is pure speculation, but if there's some sort of pill that's developed that's a cure for cancer and we all live to be 120 years old, and that's going to change, right, our unfunded liability in the future. We can't predict that. So I can't stand here and say to you with, you know, absolute certainty that the number will stay what it is. It always changes. But this satisfies what is calculated by the actuaries as our current unfunded liability and puts the city in a much, much stronger position to meet those obligations in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Thompson?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. Clarkson, just piggybacking on Councilor Mendez's question, did the state also have something to do with this and increasing our percentage of carrying that unfunded liability? Like, from my understanding, did the state legislation change, and that's why we kind of find ourselves, because before we were allowed to carry a certain unfunded liability, and now our requirement has changed and we must carry more of it?
No, what's changed is the date in which we were supposed to be fully funded. Okay. And so, and I'm glad you raised that point, Councilor Thompson, because this current plan gets us, the debt goes out to 2036. The state requirement is for all municipalities or retirement systems to be fully funded by 2040. So we actually built in another buffer so that if we get out that far and there's still some unfunded liability left, we left a few extra years. I can tell you that other municipalities in Massachusetts are proposing to borrow the money and extend that amortization schedule past 2040 to try to get them a little more wiggle room each year. But we've chosen again to take the more conservative and fiscally sound route. And so that number has moved over the years, but we're currently well within the prescribed limits to meet that, even with these debt payments.
And when did that change happen, that everything had to be paid off by 2040? Was that something recent?
It was recently. It used to be 2032, I believe, and the I don't know the exact date, okay, but I'll be glad to get it for you.
I appreciate that. So just secondly, so when we do turn this money over to the Brockton Retirement Board, I'm assuming that at that point they're going to look at what portfolios are available and with a fresh look, with the numbers, the 6.75% in mind, that that they're not just going to shove it into some old, poorly performing fund. I mean, they're going to look fresh eyes, existing portfolios, and then choose accordingly.
Of course, yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then lastly, that the $30 million that we're going to be putting into a reserve fund, do we have any return on that $30 million in that fund, or is that just locked away somewhere?
The answer to that is yes. It's 20.
20.
So it was 30 in the budget, but we paid our normal costs, our annual obligation, and so there's a little more than 20 in there, but I'm going to propose that we transfer 20 to give us a little cushion here in the city's budget. And yes, when that money goes into a city-managed stabilization fund, we can invest that. The laws on the investment of city-held funds are very different than the laws on what a retirement board can invest in. So you see, as part of our local receipts every year in our budget, we do have investment income. But given current interest rates, it's modest because the investment vehicles that we can use for the city's money are far more restricted for obvious reasons. They're very, very conservative, and so our performance is generally pretty modest. Now, with an additional $20 million set aside, there will be an increase in our investment income here in the city.
Okay. So, and then just lastly, so let's say best case scenario, the Brockton Retirement Board invests it in something, goes gangbusters, huge return. So if then potentially we pay off earlier than 2032. That's the only benefit of a better return, it's just paying it off earlier, and then I guess the return is that we no longer have to pay on the bond. Is that basically how, if things turned out well for us, it's well invested, we far exceed the 6.75, pay off earlier than 2032, the benefit of the city is then no additional bond payments, correct? Is that?
Really good question, and so that's, answering those questions is part of what's called the plan of finance, and the bond counsel, Rick Manley, and I have been working diligently on that. In fact, I was marking it up as I sat here earlier in your meeting. So our next step, should you approve this tonight, is go to the State Office of Administration and Finance, where we will submit that plan of finance to them. And in that, we will have to answer those questions. And so what we'll do on an annual basis, the performance will be evaluated, and we will have a plan in place as to what to do with extra funds, either reduce the overall liability or put more money aside on the city side to address future liabilities. And so we will address those issues. Okay. They're very much on our radar screen, but we're working out those details right now as to how exactly we'll deal with that performance or in the unlikely event of a shortfall.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, thank you, Mr. Clarkson. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm pretty clear on the borrowing and the need for borrowing. You don't have to be Einstein to figure this stuff out. The state says we got to borrow, we got to borrow. We have an obligation, we've got an obligation. And I had the same questions that, a couple of the questions that Council Thompson brought up in terms of the $20 million investing, but and I'm glad you answered it, that we are not treated as some business out there that can actually put away $20 million, invest this somewhere, get 20% return, and that 20 million now becomes 28 million. We can't do that because the law doesn't allow us to do that. And I also understand clearly that the retirement board is not a city department, because I think that's important for us to be clear of, that it's not like this body is dictating what this department does under the city umbrella in this sense. So we need to be clear on that. But at the same time, you are a member of the retirement board for the fact that you are the CFO of the city. You sit on that board.
No, actually, the auditor from the city does sit on the board. I do not.
Oh, actually, I think we just appointed the previous CFO. That's what I have the CFO in mind.
He sits on the retirement board, but as an appointment of the mayor, not by virtue of his position.
Okay. Now, do you have any dealings with the retirement board beyond your functions here in the city?
I mean, I attend those meetings from time to time. Our ability to have that $20 million was a function of the fact that I attended a meeting of the retirement board and discussed this dynamic with them and made what I believe was a compelling case that if we're going to hand them a check for the amount of the unfunded liability, it doesn't make sense that we also pay them that $20 million. And so it was our mutual respect between the retirement board and the city that allowed us to have that money on hand to put into that reserve fund. And so it's a critically important relationship.
Is it possible that at least you can communicate with the retirement board, or actually, perhaps we can actually have a resolve to bring them in here, and so that we can actually kind of stress to them the importance of just a couple percentage points? I mean, when you're giving them $340 million, and that's, you know, where you're looking at 2 percentage points, it makes a big difference in terms of what goes into it. So instead of 8-9%, you know, if they're doing better than maybe 11, you know, somewhere around 10-11%, that it actually would look better in terms of the entire thing. So is there any way we can either convey that message, or do we have to bring them in here so that we can convey that message that a couple percentage points does make a difference? I mean, I can understand the frustration to a point where you're looking at, you know, we're, you know, city number 109 in the sense, in the list of towns or where we're ranking, when, you know, we have bigger needs than some of the communities above us that are doing better with those returns. So it would make sense that we basically stress to them the importance of being a little more perhaps aggressive in terms of their investing, so that the returns could be a little bit better. Not that they're not doing their part, because if you set your benchmark at 6% and you earn 9, oh well, you know, we earned 9, but you could have earned 12. You could have earned 14. So it's important for them to know that at least the will and the wishes of this city government is to see them do better in terms of their investment, because everybody else is. You know, perhaps, you know, if they're interested in maybe getting in touch with some of the other communities that are doing so much better, to figure out exactly what they're doing versus what we're doing. And I mean we, not necessarily we city government, but we, the retirement board, because again, we have very little say in terms of what they do, because they're an independent board that's out there to manage this. But I think we can convey the message to them that we're looking at this, since we fund this, we provide funding, and chances are, I know that there's some other communities that are part of the retirement board, but I think we are the largest provider of funds and resources into that board. So I think it's important for them to at least adhere to some of the concerns that we actually have from this standpoint.
I will gladly convey that to them, and I'm sure that they would welcome the opportunity to appear before you to discuss their performance.
Yeah, I just don't want them to come here and say, you know, we planned, you know, our benchmark was 6.5 and we did 9, so give me a round of applause because we did 3 percentage points above what we had set for a benchmark. But if some of these other communities are doing 12, you know, technically you should not be getting applause for doing 9, because you could have done better. And there's nothing to prevent you from doing better. So I want to make sure that you convey that message to them versus them coming here telling us, hey, we did 12. We did 12, but when everybody else did 20. You know, that's all well and good, but we could have done a little bit better. So
understood.
Please do that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I think you still plan on coming before the city council sometime in October. Is that what you mentioned during the budget hearings, that you want to come in around October, November, and talk about where we're at with the budget per se right to this point?
Yes.
I think that would probably be the best time to work on that, and we keep it more limited. I'm only an acting council president right now, but I know the council president would see it the same way I would. That we just keep it so we have only certain few items on the agenda, so we can just dedicate, you know, to talking about those type of financial things that may help erase a lot of, you know, what we have here. So, and especially when you're talking about that $20 million, and you know, I'd want to hear about it now. I'm not worried about next year's budget, because there's some of us, you know, they can keep smiling all they want, but we're not going to be here next year, and I'm one of them. And I'm not worried about 2028 either, unless I come back. But in any case, I think that'd be the best thing to incorporate that, and it would probably take some ironing out of some of the things and concerns they have. Anybody else before I go back to Councilor Cardozo that hadn't had a chance to speak? Councilor Cardozo?
Okay, so just some information. Tomorrow, the retirement board is meeting, and initially, I was going to request that we postpone this vote until we hear from them, maybe bring some of this information that Councilor Rodriguez asked to them. But I understand we want to get this going, but if that's something that the council would entertain, I think that that would be helpful. My other comment is around Mr. Condon, who sits on the retirement board, I noticed Council President Farrow recuses himself during these meetings, and I just wonder if that poses any conflict, that he's a retiree himself, he's a consultant to the CFO, and on the retirement board. So we really should look at that and make sure that that's not creating any conflict in the city. So if it's the will of the council, we'll vote today, but if the council would like to postpone until after that meeting tomorrow and get some of these questions, I would make a motion to do that.
What's your feeling on that? Because I think it should move forward.
I would urge you to move forward. This has been properly before you and posted and advertised. And the risk, the greatest risk in this whole initiative is in doing nothing, because then that will result in crippling impacts to the city a dozen years from now. And so we know that based on the plan that we've put together, and again, a very conservative plan, that this makes financial sense and is good for the city. So I certainly welcome the discussions with the retirement board and pledge to you that we will continue to update you on a regular basis. But this plan is well thought out. It's well regarded, not only internally, but by our peers, and I would urge you to move forward.
Councilors, the item is before us, and I think that we should move to adopt this particular item. So at this particular time, I'm going to call for, Madam Clerk, do you have to read it again?
No. So you had a motion to postpone with no second.
I didn't hear no second.
Was there a motion? Did she motion to postpone it?
Yes, but there was no second.
So if we,
I'm just indicating, I think if you, and I agree with what the chief financial officer is saying. Now we're gonna sidestep, and we're gonna have something else before us again and again and again. And I think everyone's been somewhat clear, and I'll always be clear for the 18 years I've been here. The retirement board does not answer to us as the city council.
Right.
And we need to understand that. However you want to change that in any such way, that means that's going in and changing it through ordinances. I may be incorrect. Am I correct, Madam?
Yeah, it's state law.
I'll withdraw my motion.
I'm just saying, and then I think the best way is to do October when we're around the bend, and we can pick up a heavy discussion that time there.
Questions on adoption?
So question is on adoption by a roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Ianieri?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
9 in the affirmative.
The order is adopted.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Clarkson.
Mr. President, I make a motion for reconsideration.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded for reconsideration in hopes it does not prevail. All in favor of reconsideration? All opposed? Reconsideration fails. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, and President, I shift.
Item number 52. Item number 52, appointment of Mary James of Brockton, Mass. as an alternate for the Council on Aging for a 3-year term ending July 2024.
Refer to the Committee on Finance.
No, excuse me, we're still in unfinished business. In City Council, July 26, 2021. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Question comes on confirmation this evening. If there's no debate, the clerk will call the roll.
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Ianieri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
Confirmation is confirmed.
Ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $156,250 from the Department of Public Health's Bureau of Substance Addiction Services Prevention in Early Childhood Grant to the Mayor's Office Early Childhood Grant Fund. In City Council, July 26, 2021, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Question is on approval of the order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Ianieri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
The order is approved.
Ordered that the mayor be authorized to enter into contract for wastewater treatment plant and water treatment facilities operation, maintenance and management agreement between the City of Brockton and Veolia Water North America, Northeast LLC. Summary and term sheets attached here too. The wastewater treatment plant and water treatment facilities operation, maintenance and management agreement. The agreement is made in connection with the City of Brockton's request for proposals dated August 2020, the RFP. And further, the mayor be and hereby authorized to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate the contract.
Question is on approval of the order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Ianieri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
The order is approved.
Mr. President?
Madam. Councilor Nicastro.
Motion for reconsideration in the hope that it fails.
Fails or not?
All right, there's been a motion for
That it does
reconsideration.
not prevail, sorry.
There's been a motion for reconsideration in the hope that it
Second.
does not prevail, properly seconded by Councilor Lally. All in favor of reconsideration, all opposed? Reconsideration fails.
Ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $500,000 from the Executive Office of Health and Human Services fiscal year 22, Safe and Successful Youth Initiative Grant to the Police Department fiscal year 22, Safe and Successful Youth Initiative Grant Fund. In City Council, July 26, 2021. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
The question is on adoption by a roll call vote. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Ianieri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
The order is approved.
Ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $50,000 from the Executive Office of Health and Human Services fiscal year 22 Massachusetts Jail Arrest Diversion Program Grant to Police Department fiscal year 22 Massachusetts Jail Arrest Diversion Program Grant Fund. In City Council, July 26, 2021. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Question is on adoption by a roll call vote. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Ianieri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
The order is approved.
Ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $11,255.54 from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security fiscal year 2019 Burn Justice Assistant Grant to the Police Department fiscal year 2019 Burn Justice Assistant Grant Fund. In City Council, July 26, 2021. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
The question is on approval or adoption by a roll call vote. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Ianieri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
The order is approved.
Ordered in accordance with general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council approve the HDIP Tax Increment Exemption Agreement, TIE, between the city and 46 Montello LLC for the property located at 46 Montello Street. In City Council, July 26, 2021. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable as amended.
The question is on approval of the order by a roll call vote. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
No.
Ianieri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
9 in the affirmative, 1 in opposition.
The order is approved. Councilor Azak.
I move for reconsideration in hopes it does not
Second.
prevail.
There's been a motion made and properly seconded for reconsideration in the hope that it does not prevail. All in favor of reconsideration, all opposed. Reconsideration fails.
Ordered, in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $70,000 from the Mass Development Site Readiness Grant Award to the Department of Planning and Economic Development, Mass Development Site Readiness Grant Fund. In City Council, July 26, 2021. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Question tonight is on approval by a roll call vote. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Ianieri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
The order is approved.
Resolved to have Dr. Richard Herman appear before a committee of the City Council to update the community and the City Council of the continuing efforts of the City of Brockton concerning the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. In City Council, June 28, 2021. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Question is on approval of the resolve by a roll call vote. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Ianieri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
Resolve is approved.
Resolved, be it resolved that the Executive Health Officer of the Board of Health, City Solicitor, Chief of Police, Designee of the License Commission, and Fire Chief of the City of Brockton come before the Finance Committee to discuss code enforcement measures and processes in the city. In City Council, July 26, 2021. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
The question is on approval by a roll call vote. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Ianieri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
The resolve is approved.
Resolved, be it resolved that the City Councilor, Chief of Police, and Fire Chief of the City of Brockton come before the Finance Committee to discuss state law and the process of hiring, promotion, and application of civil service for employment in the Brockton Police and Fire Departments. Be it further resolved that the individuals be invited to discuss diversity practices for hiring and promotion in the Brockton Police and Fire Department. In City Council, June 28, 2021. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
The question is on approval of the resolve by a roll call vote. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Ianieri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
Resolve is approved.
Resolved, be it resolved that Joseph Cardinal of National Grid or its designees, the Commissioner for the Department of Public Works, and the Mayor of the City of Brockton come before the Finance Committee to discuss recent power outages and solutions for improvements, response, and reducing service interruptions in the City of Brockton, specifically in response to outages occurring in Wards 4, 5, and 6. In City Council, July 26, 2021. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Question is on approval by a roll call vote. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Ianieri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
The resolve is approved.
Ordered that the City Council approves the request of Dr. Eno Mondesir for an exemption from Article 3, Section 2-100 of the revised ordinance, such request being attached hereto and made a part hereof.
Refer to the Finance Committee.
Ordered, in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $17,136.77 from the State of Massachusetts Office of Grants and Research, Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, Bulletproof Vest Program, grant to the Brockton Police Department, Massachusetts Bulletproof Vest Grant Fund.
Referred to the Committee on Finance.
Ordered that in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $10,000 from Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center Buckle Up for Life Grant to the Brockton Police Department Buckle Up for Life Grant Fund.
Councilors, is anyone interested in suspending the rules and authorizing this relatively small appropriation, given the fact that we won't be meeting in council again until September?
I make a motion to
Second.
take this and act on this evening.
There's been a motion made to suspend the rules and act
Second.
on this evening. All those in favor? All those opposed, it is a vote. Now the question comes on approval. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Counselor.
Second.
And there is a second.
Mr. President,
Counselor Rodriguez.
are we doing that just in 66 or 65 as well?
The motion is just on 66.
Yeah, so the motion is just on 66,
66.
$10,000.
Yeah.
I know, but why not do 65 as well?
You can amend the motion.
I like to, if we
All
could.
right, well, let's, I tell you what, let's do 66 first. Clerk,
Okay, Diane, can you call the roll?
She quit?
all right, the clerk will call the roll on item number 66, and then we can go back to 65.
Yes.
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 The order is approved. Councilor Rodriguez, with respect to 65.
Yeah, Mr. President, if I could, I'd like to make a motion that we take 65 tonight and act on it accordingly.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion made and properly seconded to act on 65 this evening. All in favor? All opposed? It is a vote. Question now comes on approval of item number 65. If there's no discussion, the clerk will call the roll.
Azak?
Yes.
Ianary?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
9 in the affirmative.
The order is approved.
Item 67, ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize a total proposed approval of $55,283 from unappropriated estimated receipts to Information Technology Center full-time salaries.
Referred to Finance.
Ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the total proposed approval of $196,881 from the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, Department of Energy Resources, Green Communities Competitive Grant, to the Finance Department, Green Communities Competitive Grant Fund.
Referred to Finance.
Ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $8,810.13 from the Brockton Council on Aging Triad to the Brockton Police Department Project Lifesaver Fund.
Referred to the Committee on Finance.
Ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $568,038 from fiscal year 22 Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security State 911 Department Support and Incentive Grant to the Brockton Police Department fiscal year 22 Support and Incentive Grant Fund.
Referred to Finance. 72.
Ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the appropriation of $200,217.79 from the Stabilization Fund to Library Department, personal services other than overtime for purposes of funding the collective bargaining agreement between the city and the library union without a detrimental impact on the continuous provision of the existing level of municipal services.
Referred to Finance.
Ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the appropriation of $79,834.34 from the Stabilization Fund to Board of Health, Council on Aging, DPW Administration, DPW Engineering, DPW Water Enterprise, Finance Department, Library Department, Parks and Recreation, Police Department, Procurement Department, and Veterans Department, all to personal services other than overtime, for the purpose of funding the SEIU Local 888 Department Heads Union Contract without detrimental impact on the continuous provision of the existing level of municipal services. This appropriation provides funding for 3 years, July 1st, 2019 through June 30, 2022 of the 3-year contract.
Mr. Clerk, this will be referred to Finance, but I have a request to you for all councilors. if I'm reading this properly, there will be certain department heads who are in a union and they have negotiated a salary increase. That leaves other department heads who have
Ordinance
had
positions.
ordinance positions. Would you compile a list of those left behind in the last time that they had a salary adjustment? It just troubles me that we're not treating everyone equally. Thank you. So that's referred to finance. Item 74.
Ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the appropriation of $249,504.54 from Stabilization Fund to Animal Control, Assessor's Office, Auditor's Office, DPW Administration, DPW Refuse Division, DPW Sewer Enterprise, DPW Water Enterprise, Elections Commission, Board of Health, Information Technology Center, Law Office, License Commission, Parking Authority, Parks and Recreation Department, Police Department, Public Property Department, Veterans Office, and Weights and Measures Departments to their all personal services other than overtime accounts for the purpose of funding the Brockton City Employees Union Contract without detrimental impact on the continuous provision of the existing level of municipal services. This appropriation provides funding for 3 years, July 1st, 2019 through June 30, 2022 of a 3-year contract.
Refer to the Committee on Finance.
Ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the approval of $81,313 from unappropriated estimated receipts to Finance Department full-time salaries.
Refer to Finance.
Ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the appropriation up to an amount of $34,590,793 from unappropriated estimated receipts, American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, disbursement for purposes of COVID response, mitigation, and prevention activities. These funds are to be expended at the sole discretion of the mayor without a detrimental impact on the continuous provision of the existing level of municipal services.
Refer to Finance.
Ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, the City Council authorized a revolving fund for fiscal year 2022 for the sole purpose of funding the creation and maintenance of the Roadway Design and Construction Fund. The Roadway Design and Construction Revolving Fund shall receive the receipts of payments of fines and fees for the engineering, design, construction, and paving of projects. Expenditures from the Roadway Design and Construction Fund Revolving Fund shall be made on the authority and direction of the Brockton Department of Public Works Commissioner, provided that no more than $1 million may be so expended from the Roadway Design and Construction Revolving Fund during fiscal year 2022. The Brockton Department of Public Works Commissioner shall comply with the reporting requirements of Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half.
Refer to the Committee on Finance.
Mr. President,
Councilor Ian.
if I might, Mr. President, item number 78, I think we're all very well aware where the voting places are, and I don't think we need to have that go to finance just to hear it reread and approved. So I'd like to suspend the rules and act on that this evening if we could.
And dismiss with the reading of the locations.
The location, yeah.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Councilor Cardoza.
Did any of these change recently? Because I know with COVID, there were some changes.
No, I believe there are no changes this year from this past election.
Ward 2,
Word 4.
I'm sorry then.
precinct A.
But not since the last election.
I thought it was since the last election, 'cause during COVID.
No, the presidential was held.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Just, Mr. Clerk, just as a point of information, this says refer to Finance. I don't believe we can change these. This is within the purview of the Elections Commission.
Correct, no, but the motion, I believe, is to act on it this evening.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
And to suspend with the readings, but I can read them all if we're,
I'm good.
And I
If
didn't
they
hear-
haven't changed it.
and I didn't hear a second. Did somebody second that?
It'll end up in the
Who
newspaper
seconded
anyways,
that?
Newspaper, and they'll end up on Facebook. Someone's out there to do nothing, so they'll make sure they
Did somebody
list them all.
second that? I didn't. Oh,
Okay,
Council
so there's a
Rodriguez.
motion made and seconded to suspend the rules and act on this evening. All in favor? All opposed? It is a
Number
vote.
78, ordered in compliance with the provisions of the election laws, notice is hereby given that the city primary will be held on Tuesday, September 4th, preliminary, that should be, pardon me, will be held on Tuesday, September 14th, 2021, and that the city election will be held on Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021, in the assigned polling places. The polls will be open at 7 a.m. and will be closed at 8 p.m. Said voters will then, in their respective polling places, give their votes each on one piece of paper to the warden for the election of candidates for the following named offices: mayor, councilors at large, councilors in each ward, and members of the school committee in each ward.
Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Second. Motion to approve. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Ianary?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
The matter is approved.
Ordered that pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 4, the City Council authorizes the mayor to execute an intermunicipal agreement inclusive of attached development agreement with the town of Avon for treatment of wastewater and sale of water.
Referred to the Committee on Finance.
Resolved, be it resolved that the Chief of Police and the Director of the Traffic Commission for the City of Brockton appear before the Finance Committee of the Brockton City Council to discuss the ongoing problems caused by unlicensed motor vehicles, mopeds, mini bikes, and ATVs to the safety of the people of Brockton.
Referred to the Committee on Finance.
Resolved, be it resolved that the Mayor of Brockton, the CFO, the school superintendent be invited to the next Finance Committee meeting to discuss the American Rescue Plan funding dispersed to Brockton. Be it also resolved that members of the Massachusetts Coalition to Prevent Gun Violence to be invited to discuss the importance of prioritizing and supporting community-based violence prevention and intervention programs throughout this funding.
Referred to the Committee on Finance.
Resolved to have the Inspector of Buildings, James Pluff, appear before a committee of the Brockton City Council to discuss the building department's ability to provide inspections of construction, plumbing, and electrical work in a timely fashion.
Referred to the Committee on Finance.
Mr. President.
Councilor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I make a motion for a late file pertaining to the downtown Brockton Restaurant Infrastructure Fund.
All right, there's been a motion made and seconded to admit a late file. All in favor? All opposed? Late file is admitted.
We have a communication from the mayor to the members of the City Council in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44. I hereby recommend that the City Council appropriate $1,500,000 from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to the Brockton Redevelopment Authority, Section 108, Downtown Brockton Restaurant Infrastructure Fund Loan Program.
Referred to the Committee on Finance.
That's just accepted.
I'm sorry, accepted and
Placed on file.
placed on file.
We have a communication from the Chief Financial Officer relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have an order that the sum of $1,500,000 is hereby appropriated to lend funds for the Downtown Brockton Restaurant Infrastructure Fund Loan Program. Funds are to be loaned to property owners investing in the economic development activity of Brockton Downtown for installation of restaurant infrastructure by providing funds to the Brockton Redevelopment Authority to make said loans and for the payment of all costs, incidentals, and related thereto. That to meet this appropriation, the City Chief Financial Officer, City Treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, authorize said amount under pursuant to Chapter 74 of the Acts of 1945 or pursuant to any other enabling authority, including but not limited to the HUD Section 108 program of the United States of America, and that the mayor, chief financial officer, and city treasurer are authorized to execute such documents as may be necessary or desirable to carry out this transaction. This certification is conditional because the CDGB funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to the City of Brockton, which would repay the loan, is subject to the discretion of the U.S. Congress.
Referred to the Committee on Finance. Councilors, we have a couple of other late files from the mayor's office. Would someone make a motion to accept those, please?
I make a motion to accept the late files from the mayor's office.
Second.
A motion made and seconded to accept late files from the mayor's office. All in favor? All opposed? Mr. Clerk, would you read?
Now we have a communication. Please be advised that in accordance with the revised ordinances of the City of Brockton, Chapter 2, Section 2-186, I have appointed Gregory Matthew to the position of Assistant City Solicitor full-time for a 3-year term, effective August 16th, 2021.
Accepted and placed on file.
To the members of the City Council, communication from Mayor Sullivan. I hereby reappoint Jeffrey Charnell of 23 Madrid Square to the License Commission for a 3-year term ending August 2024, I'm sorry.
I refer it to Finance.
I think that's it.
I think, just double check.
That's what I have. Diane, no others, right?
Okay.
Can I just
Becca.
Can I just say something?
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Clerk. Go ahead.
Councilors, just so you know, we've been working diligently trying to solve this problem. I just received communication from Ockers, the installers. We will have the engineer from the manufacturer will be here, not this week, the week after, because it's either equipment or whatever, but this isn't, it's not done. We'll be working on it, and the manufacturer themselves will be in next week to see what we can find out. I believe it's defective equipment at this point because we've tried everything that can be done has been done and it's not working. So, but it's just so the public knows it's not done. The good news is it's hard on us, but for the public at home, the TV is working very well. So we will keep working on it.
Councilors, before we go to recognitions, I just want to call your attention to the calendar. Monday, September 6th is Labor Day, the holiday. Pardon me. Tuesday, September 7th begins Rosh Hashanah, which is a very significant holiday to people who celebrate that religion. It's my intention to have the Finance Committee meet on Wednesday, the 8th. That would be Wednesday, September 8th at 7 p.m. And I just wanted to let you know in advance so that you could mark your calendars and the reason why we would not be meeting on the 7th. That said, council recognition, Councilor Azak.
Thank you. I just want to remind everybody that the mayor's office, Mayor Sullivan's office, and Haitian Community Partners are collecting perishable, non-perishable items for the victims of the earthquake in Haiti. So this past Saturday, we had a prayer vigil here at City Hall, sponsored by the Mayor's Office and Haitian Community Partners. And the community's asked if they'd like to make donations of tents, tarps, solar lights, first aid items, for example, bacitracin cream. All these items can be collected, dropped off at the mayor's office, and sometime in the beginning of September, I believe there's a container that's going to be shipped to Haiti with all the donations. So please, if you can make donations to help the victims of the earthquake, the recent earthquake in Haiti, it would greatly be appreciated. As well as if you want to make monetary donations, you can go on to the website of Haitian Community Partners, has their website, and please make sure that it's their legitimate website if you're making a donation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Azak. Anyone else? Anyone else? If not, councilors, thank you. It was a long agenda. I appreciate you being prepared. The meeting is adjourned.